Trump maintains pressure campaign on Venezuela, saying its airspace should be considered closed. The United States has escalated its pressure on Venezuela as former President Donald Trump warned airlines, pilots, and criminal networks to treat all Venezuelan airspace as closed. The move is part of a broader effort to push President Nicolas Maduro from power, even as the U.S. publicly frames it as a campaign against drug trafficking and illegal migration. Venezuela condemned Trump's directive as an illegal colonialist threat, noting the U.S. has no authority over its airspace. Trump recently acknowledged approving CIA operations inside Venezuela, labeled Maduro's government a foreign terrorist organization, and hinted that U.S. land strikes could begin soon. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham backed Trump's remarks, as the U.S. military has deployed more than a dozen warships and 15,000 troops under Operation Southern Spear. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has been projecting strength amid growing U.S. pressure, telling troops to stay unshakable and ready to defend the nation. Meanwhile, Trump officials led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio continue discussing military options. Despite cutting off diplomatic contact in October, Trump recently softened his tone, saying Maduro would like to talk, and even spoke with him by phone. Maduro has privately indicated he might step down, but only after 18 months, a timeline the White House rejected, insisting on his immediate departure. Inside Venezuela, citizens react with fear and uncertainty as government repression intensifies. Dozens have been detained simply for sharing anti-Maduro messages. While U.S. threats of military action loom, daily life in Caracas continues under a tense calm, with Maduro insisting that Venezuela is invincible, no matter what the U.S. does. Trump says U.S. land action against alleged drug trafficking networks in Venezuela will start very soon. President Donald Trump signaled that the U.S. is preparing new action against alleged Venezuelan drug trafficking networks, telling service members on Thanksgiving that land-based strikes will begin very soon. Trump said traffickers are no longer using sea routes due to recent U.S. pressure, and warned them to stop sending poison into the country. The comments come after high-level briefings and a growing U.S. military presence in the region. Earlier this week, Trump designated President Nicolas Maduro and top officials as members of a foreign terrorist organization, a move that allows new sanctions, though not automatic authorization for lethal force. Under Operation Southern Spear, the U.S. has already deployed over a dozen warships and 15,000 troops, killing more than 80 people in boat strikes tied to anti-drug operations. CNN reported that U.S. officials privately told lawmakers the Trump administration is not planning to launch strikes inside Venezuela and currently lacks any legal authority to hit land targets. In a classified briefing, officials said the Justice Department's legal opinion justifies attacks on suspected drug trafficking boats but not operations inside Venezuelan territory. However, officials did not rule out future action. The administration has also worked to limit Congress's involvement in its military activities across Latin America. A senior Justice Department official told lawmakers that the U.S. military can continue lethal strikes on suspected drug traffickers without congressional approval and is not bound by long-standing war powers restrictions. What would it take for Nicolas Maduro to give up power? An awful lot, experts say. Questions are mounting over the future of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as pressure intensifies from the United States and neighboring countries. With a $50 million U.S. bounty on Maduro, CIA activity in Caracas, and U.S. forces positioned in the Caribbean, analysts across the Americas are openly debating what comes next. Some expect Washington to attempt his removal, comparing the situation to past U.S. interventions in Iraq, Panama, or Chile. Influential neoconservative voices, including Bret Stephens and Elliott Abrams, have recently called for Maduro's outright overthrow. Others believe Maduro might step down voluntarily. Colombia's foreign minister suggested this week that a negotiated exit would be the healthiest and least destructive solution for Venezuela. Colombia's foreign minister suggested that Nicolas Maduro might be considering a negotiated transition that would allow him to leave power without facing prison and open the door to legitimate elections. Colombia later clarified that it was not advocating for Maduro's removal. Maduro has faced a damaging year. His disputed 2024 election victory was rejected internationally. The U.S. labeled the so-called Cartel de los Soles as a terrorist group potentially enabling military action, and opposition leader Maria Corina Machado won the Nobel Peace Prize, calling his presidency nearly over. Experts told CNN that despite mounting pressure, Maduro and his government are highly unlikely to step down voluntarily. Experts say Nicolas Maduro is unlikely to give up power because stepping down without immunity could mean prison or extradition to the United States. Venezuelan officials continue to project defiance, insisting the country will not surrender. Analysts note that Maduro and his inner circle view themselves as revolutionaries committed to Chavismo, and they fear both losing their wealth and facing reprisals. Any transition, they argue, would require guarantees that Chavismo remains a viable political force. Some experts believe Maduro's off-ramp could be exile, possibly in Russia, but only if internal pressure forces him out. Others say he and his allies want to remain in Venezuela, keeping influence over the economy and military. However, experts warn that even if Maduro leaves, the regime structure will remain intact. Like after Hugo Chávez's death in 2013, removing the leader alone is unlikely to dismantle the political system that has sustained itself for decades.